Fire it up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Raising Hell in Jersey podcast. I'm your host, Jake Wakely. This is my co-host, Jersey Joe.
Hello, everybody.
And tonight, this is big. We're taking a big step in the right direction here. We have a big guest joining us tonight. No, it's not Cam Jam Jansen just yet. We're still trying to work that out. We've got that in the works, but whether that's in a month, 2, 3, it is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. We got to work around Cam's schedule. He's busy. But this next best thing to Cam, we have the draft analyst Steve Kournianos coming on. And he'll be discussing the Devils' prospects in the 2020 draft and their other prospects and what we project them to be, where he sees them, and where we see them in the World Juniors, etc. So without that...
Before we go on, I do want to throw this in there with the 2021 class coming right up. I do have some questions about some prospects because, Jake and I know that if the Devils are going to be a bottom 16 team in the draft lottery, because we're going to have 32 teams this year with the expansion draft, etc. Seattle's going to have the third best odds, just like Vegas did in their first year. I want to see who Steve sees the Devils getting within striking distance within the top 16. So
that's where we'll kind of dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just gonna send him gonna get him on here, kind of get a hold of him. Every Devils fan, just heads up, he is a Rangers fan. I am going to point out to him my love for the Yankees as well, because, him and I are on the same boat there. But other than that.
He's a very vocal supporter of the draft and assessing and, being honest and straightforward. So if he's not your cup of tea, just deal with it. But you know what? I've been listening to him for years. I love his work. He does an amazing job. And I can't wait to hear what he has to say live to us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. This is, I'm sure, and you know what, Joe, this is probably good. Could probably be more so your episode where you get to ask a lot of questions, because this is where you just kind of specialize in the draft.
Oh,
right? So this is good for you.
Absolutely. As everyone should know, I did a Google sheets and document spread for the 2020 draft. There were 7 total of us guys that did a spread, and we got some pretty interesting, accurate picks in this recent draft, and we seem to have a good ranking the Devils could select, and they really did come up good.
Yeah, so without that, we'll get Steve on here. All right, I'm just going to send him the invite, and we're going to get him on, and we're going to ask him how he's doing and whatnot, and we're going to kind of give him the floor. I want to get his opinion on the Rangers draft, though, too, and how he sees their rebuild right now and our rebuild, et cetera, and if he thinks we're as far off as they are for rebuilding, et cetera, as far as some people may think, too. So give him a little bit of time to talk about the Rangers. I know this is a Devils podcast, but I want to give him a little bit of time to talk about them as well.
You know what Green Day once said? Got to get to know your enemy.
That's right. All right, so I'm going to send him the invite. I'm going to get him on, and then we'll get rolling here.
All right, without further ado.
All right. Okay. So I've sent him the invite, and we'll get into this. This is fun. I'm pretty hyped for this, actually. I didn't think we'd get him on. He's helping me out a lot because I'm getting a lot of followers, and we've gotten more followers since he
announced.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I said, I've been listening to him for years, and I like how he's very good at critiquing, and he kind of drove me in a way to become a scout, like on my own, not like by another team, but with the Puck Authority. I do listen to what he has to say, and I listen to Dobber Prospects, and him and Yoki Nevalainen are some of the best in talent evaluations for the drafts. And listen to both of them, and Steve is just really good. And for me, I like to do my own scouting report, and he kind of presses me to do my own stuff. So,
I'm just, I'm trying to not say nothing. I had chili for supper, so we'll keep that for. Well, that's a discussion for another day.
That's for another day.
All right, Steve's coming in. I'm going to admit him in. Let's get rolling. I don't know if he can hear us or not.
Did he accept the video and the audio, or just the audio?
I'm going to send him a message to make sure he's got this.
Oh.
There he is. All right.
Hey.
How you doing, Steve?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
So we got Jake and Joseph. You go by Joe or Joseph?
If you want to be, more on the less formal, just call me Joe.
All right, Joe. We got Joe. Joe's easy.
All right.
Listen, there's a restaurant next door. I'm in my parents' house, by the way. This is my design basement. But next door, there's an Italian restaurant. And because of COVID, they have outdoor seating, and they're blasting. I mean, music's not bad. It's like Jefferson Airplane, some Creedence, but it's still blasting. So if you hear it, it's not like my dad, like having a big party upstairs or something. it's definitely not me. So,
all right.
He's usually the rock and roll 80s, 90s type. So
yeah. I mean, I would love to be there right now having a good time, but I don't know. I can be there by myself. My parents are gonna go hang out with me, so I'd rather be doing this anyway. So
yeah. I mean, before we get started, I mean, Steve, I just got to point out, like, I listened to your podcast where you did your preview for the draft for, like, all the teams and stuff like that. And I listened to a lot of them. Obviously, I listened to the Devils one. I listened to the Rangers one as well. And kind of before we get into this, because I know you're a big Rangers fan, and I know you're a Yankees fan, so I approve of that. So, we had a struggle this year, but,
Yeah.
I want to get your opinion sort of on, before we start on the Devils, about the Rangers. Obviously, they took Lafreniere first. That was a given. They traded up, and they took Braden Schneider at 19. I mean, a lot of Devils fans are also wondering, did the Rangers move up to 19 to take Schneider because they were pretty sure the Devils were hoping he was going to be there at 20?
I mean, I'm not an insider, and I know that for a fact that no team, very rarely will a team, especially on draft night, admit that they were gunning for a kid and then they got jumped. You know what I mean? So like I know that Fitzgerald was quoted as saying that, no, he was the guy that we had the whole time, or something along those lines. But he would never say like, yeah, oh my God, we love Schneider, but we kind of settled with Shakir and he's okay. Like, no, they never do that. So I think the Rangers are always paranoid. And if you listen to my podcast, and I said it, my beef with them is not the players themselves. It's the idea that if they don't get this kid, the freaking world is going to collapse and everyone's a failure, and that nobody else, the other 200 kids or 195 kids, have no potential or upside like that one kid. And that's what my problem is. So I think when I was doing my mock drafts, I think I had Schneider or Gooley as that Devils target for 18. Specifically, I think it was like I went like Holtz, Gunler, and Schneider or Gooley, or some type of like very variable, like whatever. So when the Devils made the Mercer pick, I was, not surprised, but so anyway, to answer your question, I don't think that the Devils were like so married and in love with Schneider, because remember the Devils had they didn't have a second or a third. At least I don't think they had a third. I know they didn't have a second.
They did have thirds.
They had thirds?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, really, based on what the price was, the Devils, if they were really in love with Schneider, they could have made, the same kind of a deal but then you have to factor in Mercer and what if they had Mercer at number 3 on their board? And Holtz was number 2. The thing about draft boards, we have no idea what they look like. We can't go by rankings, and we can't say that BPA is the guy with the fancy stats. It's the draft boards are weird, and we have no idea what they like to like. So I'll guess ultimately answer your question. I don't think that they were gunning for Schneider, although when you look at the right side of the Devils prospect pool, it's very heavy with lefties. There's only a few righties that you would consider to be, there's a few righties, period. I mean, it's not that many. It's all lefties, especially what they did last year. So I don't know. And we'll talk about McComadul. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have questions about it. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions about those kids. But ultimately, no, I don't think that the Rangers is definitely paranoid, but I don't think that, that Schneider was absolutely the Devils guy at, what was it, 21?
20. Yeah.
So just my 2 cents. Like I said, I'm not an insider, so I'm just guessing.
Joe and I were also wondering, before we get into our main questions, you guys, you took Capo Caco last year at 2.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys were going to take whoever New Jersey didn't take at 1. That was a foregone conclusion. And then the lottery ball, obviously, it fell in your favor, right? Because, I remember watching the draft lottery, and it was looking like, if you watch closely, it looks like the Leafs were about to win the draft lottery, and then Minnesota knocked them right out, and then the Rangers shot it there. But with you guys having, obviously, you guys still have Kreider. He's a fan favorite with the Rangers. You got Panarin, Zibanejad, and you got Kravtsev coming up, and the goalies, and you're setting net, and your defense is building nice with Fox, and we'll see if Trouba can bounce back a little bit. And then you have Lafreniere and Panarin on the left side. Right now, I will admit it's safe to say the Rangers are a step ahead in their rebuild than the Devils are. But are they that far ahead than the Devils during the rebuild as it looks, or not really?
No, not that far. I mean, listen, the Devils tried to go out and beef up in the offseason, and the Rangers did as well. This is after 2019. The Rangers, going out and getting Panarin and Trouba. The Devils went out and got Gusev and Subban and Wayne Simmons. So it was almost like a little mini playoff wannabe arms race. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't really work out for either team. The Rangers they kind of lucked into that play-in round. They really were not a playoff team. So I think they're very close. I think that if you look at the prospect pools as a whole, right? Remember the Devils, if you want to just remember that they drafted Nico Hischier in a year that the Rangers did not do well thus far at that draft. Yeah, okay, Filipino's okay. But really, the Devils had a huge edge in 17 because they got Hischier. And the Rangers got Elias Anderson, who's not with the organization anymore, and then the Heedle. So that automatically put the Devils ahead. And then Hughes and Kako, a little bit of a wash. And now you got Lafreniere, Holtz, a little bit of an edge to the Rangers. But remember, the Rangers had a void in 17. So I always consider the two teams kind of like they were parallel and moving in the same direction. But I never felt that the Rangers were way ahead. And remember, you could talk about the Rangers goalies, which they're fine, but look at the Devils goalie. I get Blackwood has to really prove himself yet, but he's more proven than any of the Ranger goalies. Blackwood, what he did with that Devils team, I think is more impressive than what Georgiev or Shesterkin did with the Rangers. And Ranger fans might not want to hear that. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on a Devils podcast. I think if you asked any GM right now, who'd you rather have, Shesterkin or Blackwood, I think it would be maybe 55-45 in favor of Blackwood because he's got, he played basically a full season with a really, really inept offense. And he was always the guy on the island, whereas Shesterkin had a really bad defense, but he never had to really worry about the Rangers not scoring. They were one of the, a pretty decent attack. So I think it's real. It's a legit arms race, man. These two teams, I don't know when, But at some point, Washington and Pittsburgh are going to absolutely suck.